Good morning, hello, and welcome. I am here today with Shamika Davis, who is a licensed nursing home administrator, and Shamika has graciously accepted, well, with a little force, to speak with me today, the Association of Minority Healthcare Professionals, as a licensed nursing home administrator about the day in the life of an administrator. Shamika is one of my proteges, actually my first protege, so I am extremely proud, to have her here with us today. Welcome, Shamika.
Thank you for having me.
Excellent. So, Shamika, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, I've been a nursing home administrator for the past 8 years. I've practiced in multiple states. I started in Nebraska, I've practiced in Michigan, and I'm currently practicing in Kentucky.
Wow. Nebraska, Michigan, Kentucky. So that means you're licensed in all states?
Well, currently, I just hold a license in Kentucky, but I've been licensed in those states I've practiced in.
Fantastic. And what were the steps like, or what is the process like becoming licensed in these three different, very different states? Are they similar? What are the differences and similarities, if any?
So being a nursing home administrator is different than being a nurse because each state that you practice in, you actually have to apply for. A lot of states will offer reciprocity. So if you hold a license in a current state, you may be able to come through a different state and get licensed. But each state requires something different. But if you go onto the NAP website, they will tell you exactly what each state requires. And some states will offer like a provisional license on an emergency basis. So say that you're currently not licensed in the state, but you're looking to maybe take an interim assignment. You may be able to go and get like just a emergency license that's quicker than a regular license. And it'll give you time to establish the full licensure for the permanent license in that state.
Oh,
So it just
okay.
varies.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's wonderful. So tell us, Shamika, why an administrator? Why did you become an administrator? What pushed you to become an
Well, I always knew that I would be in healthcare. My mother started teaching me medical terminology at the age of 9. I started out at first going to school to be a nurse. I went for 3.5 years and I did my prereqs. And I just decided, nursing isn't quite for me, but I know I want to be in healthcare. So I started working for a healthcare administration company. And then I just started researching careers. And I found out about a nursing home administrator, and it just lined up where I was currently because I was working in healthcare administration, and it also lined up for my passion. I love to help people. I love to influence things, and I love to lead. Um, I always say that I'm never going to retire. I'm always going to work because I love fast pace. I love the hustle and bustle of the everyday role of administrator. No 2 days is alike. That's the great thing about being an administrator, and it's fast paced. It can be very rewarding.
So tell me about the similarities and differences in facilities that you have overseen. You just said 2 days are not the same, but what about facilities?
So far as for facility wise, each building needs something different. It depends on where the team is. If you have a seasoned team that's pretty much established, you may have to change your leadership style. So you may have to allow them to be um, more independent. And some teams you have to lead and be more involved. So the building that I have currently, I have to kind of be more involved because prior to me coming to the team, they didn't have consistency. So they hadn't had an administrator that had been consistent with them for quite a while. So the wasn't there to establish just a routine. So those type of teams you seem to have to be more hands-on with. But I've had buildings where it was kind of quiet and I kind of got bored, so to speak, because my team was seasoned within their roles. So they pretty much knew what to do. I just really was there to kind of be of a support, not so much involved. But it's important as an administrator to kind of read the room um, to adjust your leadership style to your team's needs. And I had to learn that because I had one way. I'm kind of like a control freak, so I like to lead from the front. I like to be very involved, but I couldn't do that with every team because just as well as I'm a leader and I'm a manager, they are too. So I had to realize that and adjust my management style to fit their need.
Fantastic. What are some of the challenges in doing that? Let's say you just came from a facility that is, really laid back. Everybody knows their roles. Everybody knows what they're supposed to do, and they're doing it. And, you have, you know, zero, just zero issues. And then you go to a facility that is, oh my goodness, why did I do this? How do you do that, make that transition?
So I think post COVID, I don't think we have any more facilities with zero issues. But um,
Right.
so what I like to do when I first come into a building is I just like to round. I like to um, walk the building, and when I walk the building, I can't tell you what it is, but I just know what I see. So you can tell based on what you see by if the staff are smiling, if they're happy, how does the residents look? Do they look happy? What is the environment like? So it's so much that I can tell from the time that I pull up in the parking lot of a building, of a facility. It's the small things, it's the small details that no one really pays attention to. When I go into the building, that's what I look for. That tells me exactly where I need to start.
So I like that you said that because that is something that any any student whom I've ever taught, and by the way, they all know your name. Um, if any of my students in healthcare administration says that they've never heard the name Shamika Davis, they were not paying attention in class. I'm telling you. But because I say that all the time, but what does that mean to walk the building? And why is that important? I mean, I just heard you say that you see things, but why is that critical to, the administrator?
So when I say walk the building, what I mean is I round. I walk my building from the outside of the building to the inside. It starts from the time when I pull up. What is the curb appearance? When someone's riding down the street, what does our facility look like? How do we present to people looking to maybe bring their loved one here? So it starts from the time that I ride. I come into the parking lot, I'm looking at the grounds of the building because if we can't take care of the grounds, how do we take care of people?
Mm.
So I'm looking at the parking lot. I'm looking to see if there's any trash. From the time I walk through my front door, I'm looking to see, okay, has the lobby been cleaned? This is the first interest. I always tell my team this: you never get a second chance to make a first impression. We create the experience. We don't have to be the most modern building, but it's almost like Disney World. The experience is created from the time we pull up, and people will forget your name long before they forget how you make them feel. So once I get to my lobby, I'm looking to see is the lobby clean, you know. From there, I'm looking to see, does anybody greet me? Are they happy? I can read my team. I can tell when my team is off from the time I walk through the door. Is someone having a bad day? If so, I need to do a people check first. Before I ask anything of my team, I always do a people check. Good morning, how are you? I'm trying to gauge, are they well? Because we can't pour from an empty vessel as healthcare providers. So if not, I need to stop in first, make sure my team as a person, that my managers and my frontline staff are okay. If not, we need to address that. Let's talk about it. Because you have to learn how to not only be an administrator, but to love people, to know your team. Because the better that you care for your team, the better they're going to care for the residents,
Yes,
you know?
I love that. That's deep. I have this one former student. She recently took her NAB, first time passed it, Brittany, and she is one of the people who reminds me so much of you. She's a go-getter. She's passionate about people. She's passionate about residents. And she's always looking to learn. And, for her, if she hears this, she's going to feel, okay, I'm not alone. So I love that, because it's deep. Um, so tell me, how does an administrator take care of themselves? I hear you say that you want to take care, make sure your staff is okay, the team is ready, but how do you take care of yourself in preparation for all of this, going into the facility and making sure that it's top notch?
I think as an administrator, you have to really have to learn how to have a work-life balance. It's important to do the things that you enjoy and find time to do those things because being an administrator can be very demanding. So you have to remember to say, I'm going to make time for the things that I enjoy doing because sometimes the days doesn't always allow that unless you just make time for that. There's something that you can always do. There's something that's always going to need your attention, but that's where it comes in at as prioritizing and delegation. What can I give someone else to do? What can I prioritize to say this is important? I have to do this now, but this can wait till tomorrow. And I think it's important to I enjoy my family. I enjoy my granddaughter. I enjoy my dog, and I just enjoy quiet time. So I make time for those things. Sometimes I may come home from a long day's work and I may say, you know what, today I'm going to just take a hot bath and I'm going to put on my favorite pajamas with my favorite socks. And I'm just going to listen to the rain, open the window, get some fresh air, and I'm going to read a book.
That
That's
sounds
that's
good.
what I enjoy doing. So you always have that thing that helps you relax. So
Right.
you have to, make sure you
Something.
make time for those things.
Fantastic. Now let's talk just a little bit about residents. When you walk into your facility, you're rejuvenated, you listen to the rain, you had your nice long bath, and you get that phone call, hey, Miss Shamika, we're having this incident over here, and now you gotta go back. What is the first instant, or what is the thing that pushes you to go back as opposed to saying, can you take care of it and I'll deal with the rest in the morning or later?
I never want my team to be in a situation where they don't know what to do or they feel that they're alone. And what I mean by that is when they call me, I want them to know that it's important because you called me, because you feel that it's a concern. So I'm going to follow up. I can't always control what happens, but I can control my response and to make sure my response is appropriate. So when I say it's nothing like knowing someone is dependent on you to do your job. Someone is waiting on you to make a decision that affects the next step in the process or affects someone's life, whether it's their career or whether it's their livelihood. To have such responsibilities, I always try to handle those with extreme attention to detail and to make sure that it's ethical
Yes.
because that's a big thing. That's a lot to live up to, So I'm always trying to just make sure that I make the right decision on behalf of the residents, and I always keep my decisions based on what is in the best interest of the resident.
I love it. I love it. So I'm going to piggyback off of that ethical questions because a lot of times, I mean, healthcare is a business. Nursing, you're running a facility, it's the business of profits, bottom line. How do you find that balance or that merge point between that profit and that outcome, that quality, the resident, the care for the resident, that ethical balance between, okay, this is what I'm going to bring in. This is my, budget for this month or quarter and ethics. How do you find that?
So I never worry about the financial end because I look at it like this. If you take it from a quality standpoint, and if you make it resident centered and provide patient centered care from the beginning of the time that the resident enters the building, or you first encounter the resident. So I've had people that's came and they've done tours for their loved one. And when I first got to the building, I did the tours very hands-on. I was very strategic about how I did them. For one, we had a lot of residents that came with different dynamics and backgrounds and behaviors. So I wanted my team to be prepared on how do we handle those behaviors? What do we do? Because this is the patient population that we're caring for. It's not going to change. Every resident has some type of dynamics. So, what you want to do is you want to gather enough information from the beginning, and the care plan starts for the resident even hits the building. So, I'm gathering enough information, either if it's from the the referral that the hospital has sent over to me. I'm trying to read that from beginning to end to paint the picture, or if it's a family member. I love when it's a family member or someone that knows the resident personally, because I can always go back and ask those questions and extract enough information to say, what was the resident's life prior to needing long-term care services or short-term rehab? What did they do? What is their goal? Because that's important. Because what I may think is important for them may not be their goal. So you always want to focus on the resident's goal, get as much information about their background, and then I take that back to my team. It starts in our morning meeting, and we talk about the residents around with the IDT team, the interdisciplinary team, and that's a member of management from each department. So you have your social services director there that's looking at psychosocial health. You have dietary there that's looking at nutrition. You have nursing there that's looking at the nursing care. MDS, my MDS nurse is the coding nurse. So she's looking at, okay, this is all of the comorbidities that the residents has. This is what we can bill for. So once you provide a person-centered care plan and the quality is there, then the outcome will be there. But you have to focus on the basics, and it starts with the person-centered care, providing the care, and to produce quality outcomes.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I think I can retire now from academia because I think you hit the mark when you said that person-centered care. Now, one of the things that I hear a lot in staff, it's, well, there's nothing I can do about it. This is how the facility is. This is how the facility runs. We're just here to make money. And sometimes I've walked across facilities or around facilities, and I have noticed that residents are being ignored. But it's not because of, there's no staff. There's staff walking around and, on their cell phones. And how would you, as an administrator, combat those challenges, or have you had those experiences, and what did you do to remedy those situations?
It's all about culture. It's the culture that you establish in your building. So, one, creating a culture that fosters communication. Communication is key in any relationship. So, one, sometimes the frontline staff, they would take that approach. I have that response when they're frustrated. But I let them know that it starts with you all, because you all are first as a defense. You spend more time with the residents than anyone. So I allow open communication, but I always prompt them to think about, okay, Neil, you told me what the problem is, but what is the solution? What are we trying to achieve here? And I get them to think through that process, even though I already know the answer. I already have an answer, but I don't want to give them the answer, because if I have to give you the answer every time, then you have to bring the problem to me to be solved. But if I can get you to think about it in real time, to say, okay, we have a situation here, and it doesn't just start with the administrator. Before it gets to me, it should be resolved. I'm the last person, right? Not that I'm not available, but I'm not always as available as the frontline staff. So if I can teach 3 people to think like me, then it's 3 times more likely to get resolved before it gets to me. I'm one person. So that's what I love about being an administrator in leadership, is that you can teach other people how to solve problems, and then they see themselves as equally qualified to take care of things, and they are, because we're all leaders in some aspect. Someone is depending on you to make a decision that produces the next outcome, right?
Right. As goes the head, so goes the tail. That's something that I teach all the time.
Yes.
So now, last question for you. In this political climate that we're in, a lot of people think, well, I don't think that's what I want to go into right now. Healthcare administration, especially long-term care, where I mean, we see it in the news all the time where, facilities are not funded properly, or, it's just about the profits. What do you tell an upcoming administrator or somebody who is thinking, should I do this or not? Should I invest 4 years, 2.5 years into a program that I'm not even sure is going to be, you know, as effective when I'm done with my program?
So I say this, that I think that healthcare, there's something in healthcare for everyone. You have to know what the life of an administrator looks like every day. It can be very demanding, but it can also be very rewarding. And if you love to influence the way that someone receives care, influence positive outcomes, deal with negative outcomes to make them positive, or if you just like to be effective in some way, because I look at opportunities as I'm needed,
Right.
and I look at challenges like what people usually run away from, I run to. So you have to know what your strengths are. You have to know what your goal is. um, so if you want a career that's fulfilling, rewarding, by helping other people, um, then I think an administrator is definitely for you.
Love that.
But it can be very, you'll know, I'll tell you how you'll know. You'll know if being an administrator is for you when there'll be days where you'll say, you know what, today has just been a day. It has been a day.
Yes.
And it makes you go back and it makes you say, why did I get into this? And and those are the things that keep you. You have to remain grounded in what is the primary reason why you became an administrator. And I'll tell you a quick story, but
Yes.
when I was 7, my dad, he was diagnosed with cancer. And back then, cancer wasn't very heard of. So I was raised by my nanny. She raised me, and she was actually my aunt, my mom's sister, and her husband was my daddy. I called him my daddy. So he got cancer when I was 7 years old, and he was a veteran. So he went to the VA hospital to receive care, but he was the primary provider in our home. And when he died, but when he got, it started way before he died, because when he got sick, our whole life changed. And this is what I say, you don't just care for residents, you just don't care for patients, you care for their families too, because whatever the family is going through, so is the resident or the patient. And I knew that I would be in healthcare in some way, because I remember the experience that I had when my daddy got sick. He went to the VA hospital to receive care, but nobody thought about me and Nanny. Nobody thought about how our life would be changed once we lost him. And they gave him great care, but I wanted to be able to remember the families and include them and to love them and to give them that time back with their loved one, whatever, if it was a day or 2 days. At least you don't have to worry about their health care. You can enjoy the moments that you have left with your loved one for however long. So I knew that I wanted to be in healthcare then. I just didn't know it was an administrator. But it's like every piece of my life led up to me being an administrator. And that's how I knew I was on the right path.
Oh, I love that. So they just have to find themselves where they need to be to be able to,
Yeah.
determine. I love it. So Shamika, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Now, this is not the last time, so stand by, but really appreciate all your insights. Any parting words that you would like to share with any, the audience?
I say this, that healthcare is something that we all have to make a withdrawal from. How do you make a withdrawal from something you have no investment in? So whether it's being an administrator or any type of care provider, you're needed. The work is plentiful, but the workers are few. So
That's deep. Thank you so much.
yes.
Absolutely for sharing it.